What time does the 7 o'clock meeting start?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Thank you, Sean. Hey, everyone, say hello to Sean. He's back with us for another visit. I've been here in a while. Everyone knows Sean for 15 years or more here helping out with this group. Anyway, welcome to PON, Position of Neutrality. We open every session of Position of Neutrality with a prayer, and Wayne is here tonight to do that for us.
Like how I started clapping for myself.
That's good. If you won't, who will?
Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that we can spend together, Lord. Thank you for your word, and thank you for your servant who delivers the word. We ask, Lord, that you just empower us to go forth, Lord, and to carry your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Wayne. Shout out to Jesse and Amanda in Norman, Oklahoma. We've been praying for you for the last couple of weeks. We continue to do so. We're glad to know healing is in your house. Amen. So what we do at Position of Neutrality, any of you joining us new, we take a look at the suggested instruction for a step or so a week directly out of this book. And we use this book in 12-step recovery. Why? Yeah, the process described by the authors of this book has been proven to work for addicts of the hopeless variety, addicts to alcohol and other substances, and even certain behavioral disorders. So basically any human condition from which you need delivery, practical application of this manner of living is promised to do that for you. Make sense? So what we try and do, because this is their testimony, not mine, is I want to align mine with theirs. In other words, I'm going to show you how I find my experience in their book, and then I'm going to encourage you to have your experience with their book. And if we both do our job, we'll share a spiritual experience in this room on these airwaves tonight. Yes?
Yes.
And the people in the room, they've been here before, so they know. But when we speak of a spiritual experience, we're talking about a sensory experience. You'll feel it. When you do, I'll know, and I'll call it to your attention. Because we would teach you to talk to you about the power we call God without giving you a demonstration of the power. The other thing we do, because some people come here and they're a little bit confused or they don't understand what people are talking about, they've got some prejudice about religious experiences or something they've had. And so when people say God, they shut down. So when we say God, we know we're talking about power, sensory power from within, right? And we don't want anyone confused here. We're focusing you on the experience of power, not some religious experience you drug in here or just some doubt you carried in here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So tonight we're going to look at steps 8 and 9, and that starts on page 76 of your book. And they start right in the middle of the page. Now we need more action. So we talked about last week in addictive disorder, alcoholism or any other addictive disorder. We've been trying to think our way into better acting, and we lacked power. But what we have found as a class is that we act our way into better thinking. Does that make sense? And so they're going to keep talking to us about action and more action as we go forward. So they lead with now we need more action from what the last couple of weeks have given us. Yes? And it says, without which we find that faith without works is dead. So they're proving that scriptural message to themselves through themselves. Does anyone recognize that message? Yeah, from the book of James, right? And so we're not trying to teach a theology here, but what we're saying is this tangible power proves itself to us as we embark on this manner of living. And the benefit of this manner of living is that works are observable acts. So it's not for me. My deliverance isn't for me. I'm delivered for others who witness that. Does that make sense? So if my faith is in action, others are delivered. Does that make sense? So it's critically important for alcoholics to internalize that, because I don't even get the full value of my awakening until I go out and start serving as an instrument of this power. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so then it says let's have a look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. So did any of you get such a list at some point in your recovery?
I did.
And when did you get it?
When I paid about 4 steps.
So the steps are in order for a reason, right? We made it when we took inventory. That's what the authors say. All right, so we subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we're about to go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which is accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. That's what they're about to do. The instruction follows that I want people to pay attention to, particularly people new in recovery or people new to helping people in recovery. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. All of us at one time could not stop and stay stopped. So shaming one another is not the answer. So brother, if you can't pray for the willingness, can you just bow your head with me and I'm going to pray for the willingness for you? Because we can lower them down through the roof if we need to. Does that make sense? Some of you know where that comes from, another book too. All right. So same book, actually, just a different chapter. Anyway. So we attempt to sweep away the debris which is accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we'd go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. They put that in italics. So it was important. They wanted us to consider it, right? So who did I make that agreement with?
God, my sponsor.
Yeah, maybe not even my sponsor, depending on where I made that agreement, right? But to Sean's point, I committed to follow through on a manner of living for that man's help. And maybe even before that, if you read this book, he said, go home and do this alone. You and the power do this alone. That was a step 3 experience probably, right? But anyway, remember I made that commitment to people I care what they think of me. That's what I'm getting at. Because if we won't keep our commitments for any other reason, we'll do them so we don't look like hypocrites. Just, I don't know what it is about alcoholics, but we're weird that way. I'm going to eat out of a dumpster buck naked, but I don't want you to think less of me. Probably there are still some misgivings.
No shit. Yeah.
As we look over the list of business acquaintances and friends we have hurt, we may feel diffident about going to some of them on a spiritual basis. So think about that. Sometimes we're feeling a little funny because we know the way we've treated people. Yes? Yes. So if their last memory of me was not a good memory of me, then going to them on a spiritual basis is probably going to be viewed with a bit of skepticism. Right. Yes? Okay. So let us be reassured, to some people we need not and probably should not emphasize the spiritual feature on our first approach. So there's going to be more than one approach, and I'm not going to avoid the issue of what's going on with me in the spirit, but that's not my lead if their experience with me is something less than spiritual. Does that make sense? And if you don't know that, ask who's mentoring you, ask who's sponsoring you, what that looks like for you. They'll help you. All of us had to see how that fits. All right, so we might prejudice them. At the moment, we're trying to put our lives in order, but this is not an end in itself. So this is an interesting thing. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. Yes. Maximum service. So steps 8 and 9, these are the fitness steps. You want to get more physically fit, you're going to start eating different, you're going to start exercising your body, you're going to start doing. You want to get spiritually fit, you're going to start enacting the disciplines or the practices they taught you with discipline. Does that make sense? Right. All right, so it's seldom wise to approach an individual who still smarts from our injustice to him and announce that we've gone religious. In the prize ring, this would be called leading with the chin. And here's their thoughts. Why lay ourselves open to being branded fanatics or religious bores? So again, put yourself in their place. When they put a question mark, they want you to ask yourself that question. Have you ever thought that of someone? Have you feared someone thought that of you? Why? Were you acting fanatical? Were you trying to cover up for something else? Because it's going to be uncomfortable, right? All we're saying is you're supposed to be watching your own thoughts now. In this stage of your development, you're learning to watch your own thoughts, yes? Yes. Okay, so we may kill a future opportunity to carry a beneficial message. So, how does one carry a beneficial message?
Neutrally.
Yeah, and with humility.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to walk in and because I've had this discovery, I assume that you've never had one, because now I'm disrespecting your base knowledge. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So, and the thing about spiritual experience, guys, as you grow in this, they're going to know the minute I open my mouth if I really have one, because they're going to feel it. Because I'm going to be describing to them a movement of the Spirit, and the Spirit's going to come with depth and weight. Okay, but our man is sure to be impressed with a sincere desire to set right the wrong. So it's all about the approach, right? Approach determines response. You ever heard that? All you guys with an incarceration history, I heard that all the time. Approach determines response. Don't want your eyes blacked? Walk softly. Okay. He's going to be more interested in a demonstration of goodwill than in our talk of spiritual discoveries. We don't use this as an excuse for shying away from the subject of God. When it'll serve any good purpose, we're willing to announce our convictions with tact and common sense. They're assuming by now you're aware of that spirit within you, that tangible sense within you. And so you should be able to check with the spirit in you if it'll serve any good purpose or not. And usually what you're going to find, you guys newer to this, you're going to have some doubts about it. You're going to want to talk to someone about it. Learn to talk to the power within you. Find out why you're in conflict. Does it make sense? Yeah. We're trying to grow in constant prayer and meditation. And it's an inward thing. Yeah? So the question of how to approach the man we hated will arise. So how many of you have had somebody in your journey that you really hated? How many of you didn't like the word hate? There's a lot of people don't like the word hate, but what it means is strongly dislike.
Right.
So
We have guns.
So they want us to unpack that, because a lot of times we feel like if I go to them, that person, because of the way they treated me, they're going to humiliate me when I own my part. And the truth is, when I treated another human being in a way less than they should be treated, I humiliated me, and now I'm here to pick it up. Does that make sense? So the question of how to approach the man we hated will arise. It may be that he's done us more harm than we've done him, and though we may have acquired a better attitude toward him, we're still not too keen about admitting our faults. Nevertheless, with a person we dislike, we take the bit in our teeth. So with the person we dislike, we take the bit in our teeth. That's what they did. You understand what they're saying they did? So if you don't know the metaphor, to take the bit in the teeth is to take control of the situation, initiate the contact, take the direction you want it to go. Yes?
Right.
It's harder to go to an enemy than to a friend. So we're going to acknowledge that up front. It's probably going to need more power than I have in this moment. Yes? So, but we find it much more beneficial to us. Now, don't get it twisted. That doesn't mean go to the toughest one first. We've got a suggested path to the wife, to the family, to the employer. Get a circle of support around you. But you're going to find that as long as you hold on to grievance, it's going to anchor you. I've heard it said, and I believe it to be true, that the way I think or feel about my least favorite person or situation is my devotion to God. Well, I think we need to own that, because we're not here to judge. We're here to lift, right? So we go to him in a helpful and forgiving spirit, confessing our former ill feeling and expressing our regret. So how does one get in a helpful and forgiving spirit with someone they dislike? Yeah, to Sean's point, that's why we have a step later about growing in conscious contact. We're going to have to get centered in the spirit in order to be more him and less me. Yes? All right, so under no condition do we criticize such a person or argue. Simply, we tell them that we will never get over drinking until we've done our utmost to straighten out the past. I can't say that if I don't believe it. Otherwise, it's just another empty promise from me. Does it make sense? So I need to understand, if I don't straighten this out with you, I'm grounded to that event, which was a low point for me and you. And I don't have the power to take you out of it, but I do have the power to take my bad actions back if you'll let me, right? All right, so we're there to sweep off our side of the street, realizing that nothing worthwhile can be accomplished until we do so, never trying to tell him what he should do. His faults are not discussed. We stick to our own. Do you notice how they said the same thing several different ways? Do you think that might have implied that they had to do it a few times sometime?
Yeah.
Have any of you ever gone to make an approach for amends and then had to go back and make amends for the amends you tried to make? So that's how we learn to grow, right? We think that we've let go of all that stuff until something happens, and then we learn we haven't. All these people we go to see are showing us our old ideas. Everyone thinks, well, I had to let go of my old ideas. Like, okay, well, that's pure delusion. You didn't even know what they were until you started to serve. I hate people like that. Hell, I've never even known people like that. You know what I mean? Anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know how those people are. No, I don't. Tell me. Oh, I don't know. I don't hang out with them. They dress like that. Anyway, so then it tells you why you want to do all that. They're going to tell us some conditions here and then a promise. If our manner is calm, frank, and open. So how do I get to a calm, frank, and open manner?
Become spiritually fed.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get centered in the spirit, aren't I? And I may not feel calm to be calm in manner. But I will have to be frank in manner. Does that make sense? Well, and the frank doesn't mean mean. Frank means direct when I speak of things about me. Try not to spin how I treated them. I did that to you. You did not deserve to be treated that way, right? That's frank. Less than frank would be, I did that, but, you really could have, not been such a puke, Anyway, because if our manner is calm, frank, and open, we will be gratified with the result. Open is, I'm open to what they have to say that may be a surprise to me. Sometimes I think the grievance you have against me is completely different than the grievance you have against me.
I only think you think.
Well, and sometimes we think that each other is mad, and neither one of us can remember why we were mad. We just remember that we were mad. Because remember, we were sometimes not always in control of our faculties. So in 9 cases out of 10, the unexpected happens. So what's the odds there? Sometimes the man we're calling upon admits his own fault, so feuds of years standing melt away in an hour. Rarely do we fail to make satisfactory progress. Don't get caught up in the debate of what rarely means. Rarely means rarely. You're unlikely to get a bad result, and if you get no result, just give it time and see if you didn't get a result. Does that make sense? You're growing spiritually. Have you ever gone to the gym and pressed weights, but it wasn't your best day, and you went home and thought you got no results? Have you ever just skipped a few days and found out even the days you didn't think you were doing anything, if you got there and did something, you got results? Okay, well, spiritual fitness is the same thing. If you'll just stay in practice and in discipline and doing the same things, you're getting results even when you don't feel. That's why there's promises in this book. You don't promise the obvious, right? You promise for when you can't feel it, when you don't know it. So I can cling to the promise and keep my head in focus, yes? Okay, so our former enemies sometimes praise what we're doing and wish us well. Have you ever had that happen?
Yep.
Occasionally, they'll offer assistance. It should not matter, however, if someone does throw us out of his office. We've made our demonstration, done our part, it's water over the dam. So not everyone's going to be happy or supportive or even willing to hear from us. It doesn't matter. You made the request, and if you got the request fulfilled, you made the approach. Their response is none of your business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I know people, well, they have to. No, they don't. That's how I lived in addiction. That's how you have to go along with whatever harebrained scheme I got. So they don't, right? And if they later want to hear it because they have more evidence that I'm doing better than they thought I was, then I'll go back, right? And otherwise, I made the effort. All right, so here's some understatements. Most alcoholics owe money. I hear that, I've met one guy in all the years I've been in recovery. One dude said, I did not owe money. I don't think he's ever told the truth either. So because I just can't imagine with all that drinking and not remembering that you don't owe nothing. Anyway, so we do not dodge our creditors. That's what they do. How many of you had some experience early in recovery where you, in fact, did? So that's when somebody probably asked you, man, how free do you want to be? I mean, that's your phone. How come you're hiding from it? That's your door. How come you can't answer it? Right? And then we have to, but it can be done in a way that it is not mean. Just look, guys, all of us go through it. I get it. Right? They don't want your money. They want theirs. How would I like to be approached if the roles were reversed? I'd rather you came to my house and left it in an envelope. Instead, you made me call you. A lot. And hide in the bushes. Okay, so we do not dodge our creditors. Telling them what we're trying to do. We make no bones about our drinking. They usually know it anyway, whether we think so or not. So sometimes we've done harm and we don't know whether they know the gravity of it. But if I harm them because of my behavior while inebriated or what have you, or in an effort to keep more so I could do more or whatever, I owe them that explanation. And if that's not what got in the way, then I don't owe them that explanation. I still owe them the money, perhaps, but I don't have to tell them about my alcoholism if my alcoholism isn't what caused the problem, right? And I'm making a distinction and a difference there. Because some people think you got to go tell everyone you ever meet about your alcoholism, and that will cause you financial harm. They don't need to know. If your behavior in addiction didn't cause them financial harm, something else did, then own what did. Because then it just sounds like an excuse. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, nor are we afraid of disclosing our alcoholism on the theory that it may cause financial harm. And I just went through that distinction for you. And if you're confused, talk to your mentor or your sponsor. They've gone through it 100 times themselves and with others. They'll help you. Approached in this way, the most ruthless creditor will sometimes surprise us. Arranging the best deal we can, we let these people know we are sorry. These guys use the words they mean, and they mean the words they say. So they didn't say we tell them. They said we let them know. What's the best way for someone to know my intention? And by watching how I act in concert with what I say. Does it make sense? So a lot of times we say something, but we don't show up with something. Don't show up anywhere. When you show up with a plan and something. Does it make sense? Okay, so our drinking has made us slow to pay. We must lose our fear of creditors no matter how far we have to go, for we're liable to drink if we're afraid to face them. Yep. Now, that's the first 100 telling you their experience with the first several thousand. You're going to get really conflicted if you keep trying to behave the same way you did in addiction. Yep. We don't dodge people, right? We don't. Because how am I going to be a model for the next guy in recovery if I haven't done the things that were suggested for me? Does it make sense? So perhaps we have committed a criminal offense. Perhaps. It's virtually a certainty in this group. It's a matter of settled case law for pretty much everyone in here. And I know this because it's always a good idea not to go try and retry a case when they want to hear if you're repentant over the settled case law. I've seen it. This isn't a trial, sir. You just did 25 years inside for this. We'd like you to take accountability. most common thing in prisons, that innocent man. All right, so we may be short in our accounts and unable to make good. Anybody? Any of you fall victim to the idea if you didn't have it all, you couldn't give them any? Sometimes we don't know that. Sometimes we tell ourselves, well, I'm just going to wait till I have it all and then I'll reach out. Nope, you arrange the best deal you can. You give them what you can, show them why you made that decision. That's what I can do. I'm not here to negotiate with you. It's what I can do. You tell, I'll pay you every penny, but here's what I can do. Again, frank. Yes? Open. All right. So we may be short in our accounts and unable to make good. We've already admitted this in confidence to another person. So who do we talk to, hopefully? Whoever's helping us through our inventory. Yeah? All right. So, but we're sure we'd be imprisoned or lose our job if it were known. Maybe it's only a petty offense, such as padding the expense account. Most of us have done that sort of thing. Maybe we're divorced and have remarried, but haven't kept up the alimony number one. She's indignant about it and has a warrant out for our arrest. That's a common form of trouble too. So they went through, you notice how they went through a number of common forms of trouble? One of the things you folks will notice when you sponsor younger men and women, younger and younger, because they're getting to us younger and younger, is they may not relate to all those common forms of trouble. Yep. And the idea is to be relatable, right? So they're going to tell you, everyone's got a form of trouble. Let's figure out what it is, and then we'll show you how to prosecute that form of trouble, right? All right, so although these reparations take innumerable forms, so they're only going to give us 2 or 3, but depending on our audience, we may have to dig a little. Yes? There are some general principles which we find guiding. Would that be useful? So reminding ourselves that we've decided to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience. So reminding myself. So where's this power found? So when I remind myself, that's where I'm going. Right? And then I made an agreement there to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience. A lot of people don't understand that 12-step recovery isn't about sobriety per se. That's not the goal. That's a byproduct of awakening in the spirit. And so what we need to keep you focused on, I'm willing to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience, because my addiction proved I was willing to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience. Why do you think they call alcohol spirits? Yeah? So I just flipped the thrust, going the other way now. All right, so we ask that we be given strength and direction to do the right thing. That sounds like a prayer, doesn't it? Yeah. No matter what the personal consequences may be. I'm shoring that spirit up within me. Yeah. Yes, the mind's going to try and tell me if you do that, then this. Doesn't matter. If I don't do that, it's all going. Right. Yeah. We may lose our position or reputation or face jail, but we are willing. We have to be. We must not shrink at anything. Usually, however, other people are involved. Now they're going to talk about a lot of folks don't understand, except when it'll injure them or others. We don't do things that are going to be harmful in our amends process to the person we're trying to make the amends or the approach to. And we don't injure others without at least getting their permission for involving them in our reparations. Does that make sense? Yes. So therefore, we're not to be the hasty and foolish martyr who would needlessly sacrifice others to save himself from the alcoholic pit. That's how I behaved in addiction, right? I'll throw you all under the bus. What do you mean you bought shoes for the kids? Now we don't have any money. But I just came from the bar where I dropped $300 freaking dollars. Right? Well, we think we don't, but those of us that know. And it's not a condemnation. It's like, no, man, you didn't get here on a winning streak. Stop it. This ain't the kind of country club you join just because of, we got too many rolls to polish. I ain't seen very many Rolls Royces in any AA parking lot I've ever been at. A man we know had remarried because of resentment and drinking. He had not paid alimony to his first wife. She was furious. She went to court and got an order for his arrest. He had commenced our way of life. So what do they mean? He started in the steps. He's doing what these guys suggested. Had secured a position. Got him a job. Probably not the job, but a job. Any relate to getting a job? It definitely was not the job. Okay. Yeah, Brian got a job washing dishes, and we were worried if it was safe for him. True story. It wasn't that long ago either. Getting longer all the time, though. And it was getting his head above water. It would have been impressive heroics if he had walked up to the judge and said, "Here I am." So a lot of people don't understand what they're saying. They're pointing out a demonstration of a lack of humility. If I'm trying to grow spiritually, what I do not want to do is impressive heroics. Does that make sense? And someone that's not involved directly, a sponsor, a mentor, can say, "Oh, no. Let's do everything we can to avoid that. And in the process, we'll pray for willingness, whatever it is." Does that make sense? So we thought he ought to be willing to do that if necessary. So you see how they make the pause?
Yes.
If you got to, you got to. Jeff's here tonight. He came to PON years ago and was facing a beef that was going to send him to prison if it didn't go well, and it didn't go well, and he went to prison and he did his time, and 5+ years and change, he came back and started sitting in the front of PON again. Yeah. And the whole time he went down, he carried the message of AA on the inside. I think Jesse did the same thing from the sound of his timeline. So the reality is we got people that do heroic things that the rest of the world don't think are heroic, and that is the essence of humility. Yes. Just so you know. So if he were in jail, or we thought he ought to be willing to do that if necessary, but if he were in jail, he could provide nothing for either family. We suggested he write his first wife admitting his faults and asking forgiveness. He did, and also sent a small amount of money. He told her what he would try and do in the future. He said he was perfectly willing to go to jail if she insisted. So which of those things do you think was most important? Everything in their entirety. And we always think the money first, but the money is the icebreaker. But never devalue it. Like we always told everybody that had to go get a case dropped when they got out of prison, Carrie Ann's here tonight, everyone that had to go get something at a lower court dropped, take some money. Even if it's $10, show up with it. Tell them what you're going to try and do in the future. And guess what? We got hundreds, if not thousands of people on their feet again. But you got to follow AA's model, guys. This has been working for thousands of people that didn't even know they were working it. I'll guarantee you the program we were all involved in was set up based on these principles. Because I was there. I know. I'm an expert on how it was set up. Before it was set up. He said he was perfectly willing to go to jail if she insisted. Of course, she did not. The thing you got to understand is manner was calm, but he did not know that she was not. He had no idea until she got supportive that he wasn't going straight to jail. And that's just the way it is. So, and if you do go to jail, then ask to be used. It'll be powerful for you. Of course, she did not. The whole situation has long since been adjusted. Before taking drastic action, which might implicate other people, we secure their consent. So what am I going to do? If it's going to involve or might involve anyone else, I need their permission first. Tell them what I'm planning to do. And the obvious question is, well, what if they say don't? Well, then we sit there until we find out what is acceptable to them. Right? Okay. So if we have obtained permission, have consulted with others, asked God to help, and the drastic step is indicated, we must not shrink. Guys, when you want to grow in what prayer and meditation is, that sentence, that description is as good as it gets. I ask everyone I need to be involved with, and then I take it inward for power, and then I'm going to know. I'm going to get the conviction. I mean, it's going to say, it's going to be sensory. drastic step is indicated, and that's when this power overrides this fear. And it's sensory, and you'll know it when it happens. Does it make sense? And that's your essence of knowing why you pray and meditate, because it really is a matter of living. Yes? Okay, so this brings to mind a story about one of our friends. So somewhere in the middle of this story, I'll give you the backstory, and then we'll finish it, just because I never know exactly where I'm going to do that, but somewhere I am, because some of us did a lot of amphetamines and other stimulants, and we get restless if we read too long. And if you're being read too, you're already taking apart the furniture before we get through. So, and this is my furniture, so please don't take it apart. So, while drinking, he accepted a sum of money from a bitterly hated business rival, giving him no receipt for it. He subsequently denied having received the money and used the incident as a basis for discrediting the man. He thus used his own wrongdoing as a means of destroying the reputation of another. In fact, his rival was ruined. So this is the point. I'm going to tell you the story. This guy was an old Oxford group member, not necessarily fond of the AA groups. He liked the Oxford groups. So his church family was critically important to him, and the sum of money he received while drinking was a donation to the church fund. And look, most of us, especially if we had some trade experiences, received some advance money to buy supplies or something for a job we were going to start very soon. And then money in my possession while drinking has an evaporative rate, which is very uncomfortable to explain to others. And so I just say, cat's lying. He never gave it to me. But that's all they're talking about. So all of you that don't understand 80 years ago, that's all they're talking about. I'm inebriated. You give me money to give somewhere else. I was a little short. I'm God's soldier. He'll loan it to me. Anyway, he felt that he'd done a wrong he could not possibly make right. Now, the reason I tell you the backstory is, if you just did that to any person, you might not think anything of it. But if it's really important, your church family is really important to you, or if you've ever done this to your AA group and your recovery family is really important to you, that's a real condemnation. That I have wronged them and I'm ashamed to go back to them. So it says if he opened that old affair, he was afraid it would destroy the reputation of his partner, disgrace his family, and take away his means of livelihood. What right had he to involve those dependent upon him? Question mark. So have you been paying attention to the instruction?
Yep.
So what right did he have? None without their permission. So now he knows exactly what the next steps are to be, doesn't he? Yes. You're going to have to go obtain permission. Yes. All right. Then he's got another question. How could he possibly make a public statement exonerating his rival? He was falsely accused of stealing money from the church fund. And he doesn't even know how many people were wronged that were involved with how the dispensation of the church fund was. So there's no way that he could know, because he hasn't gone to the church in years, they'll tell us later.
Right.
So think about that. How could you do it? Remember that little part we asked God to help? Yeah, that's the next definite and valuable. Okay, I got to find out who's involved. And the only one who knows is the one who knows all. So we're going to have to go find out, right? Okay. And then it says, after consulting with his wife and partner, he came to the conclusion that it was better to take those risks than to stand before his Creator guilty of such ruinous slander. He saw that he had to place the outcome in God's hands, or he would soon start drinking again and all would be lost anyhow. He attended church for the first time in many years.
You think you talked to the pastor first?
Well, he had to have.
Absolutely.
Because it was going to affect him. Absolutely. After the sermon, he quietly got up and made an explanation. To Sean's point, there may be some indicated steps, those of you with it, because you're going to end up having to go to the chair of your AA meeting. If you're anyone in here sort of borrow the seventh tradition, yeah, and you got to go back and tell them. Yeah. Anyway, something tells me the church would be worse. Anyway, so after the sermon, he quietly got up and made an explanation. So his manner is calm, right? Frank, open. You know he's feeling a lot of fear and trepidation. Then it says, his action met widespread approval, and today he's one of the most trusted citizens of his town. This all happened years ago. So think about what he did. He put it in God's hands, and the thief of the church fund becomes the most trusted citizen of the town. So if you don't think you can put your past in the hands of your Creator and come out a whole new creation, that's the testimony. Make sense? And it happens over and over. Okay, so the chances are that we have domestic troubles. Anybody?
No shit.
Perhaps we're mixed up with women in a fashion we wouldn't care to have advertised.
No shit.
We doubt if in this respect alcoholics are fundamentally much worse than other people. But drinking does complicate sex relations in the home. Yes?
Yes.
I always think of the meth addicts because they don't even know whose home they're in. They don't know where much of anything's in. So after a few years with an alcoholic, a wife gets worn out, resentful, and uncommunicative. That's the first thing we see, isn't it? But the next question is what's more important. How could she be anything else? And then it says the husband begins to feel lonely, sorry for himself. He commences to look around in the nightclubs or their equivalent for something besides liquor.
Christie's Cabaret.
Told you Sean was back. Perhaps he's having a secret and exciting affair with the girl who understands. Any of you met him or her? The one, the understanding one? In fairness, we must say that she may understand, but what are we going to do about a thing like that? So all they're saying is discipline your thought. We're not dealing with their level of understanding. Regardless of how understanding they may be, that's not what I'm suffering from.
Right.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So a man so involved often feels very remorseful at times, especially if he's married to a loyal and courageous girl who's literally gone through hell for him. So they're talking about I'll get bouts of clarity where I should behave better, and then I'll block consciousness in any number of other ways, usually behaving badly again.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to have to do something or I'm going to be stuck in that cycle. Yeah. Whatever the situation, we usually have to do something about it. I'm not making it up. I'm just getting ahead of them. And they're not telling you what you have to do. That's what they found they had to do.
Right.
So if you're sitting there going, oh, there's that thing, well, you probably have to do something about it. Okay, if we're sure our wife does not know, should we tell her?
Yes. No.
No.
So they qualified it. If we're sure they do not know, should we tell her? How sure are you? I mean, that'd be a question. This is where you're growing in prayer and meditation. I was pretty sure a lot of people didn't know the depths of my addiction, too. And then I discovered I was not as clever as I thought I was.
Right.
So maybe some of these other things I've been less than clever, too. Yeah? So not always, we think, if she knows in a general way that we've been wild, should we tell her in detail?
No.
We got an emphatic no. Usually those come from people who have been told in detail, because that's just cruel.
No.
Yeah.
Wanna see it.
Yeah, and do not take a picture of it and send it to him or her. That does damage. Undoubtedly, we should admit our fault. She may insist on knowing all the particulars. She'll want to know who the woman is and where she is. We feel we ought to say to her that we have no right to involve another person. We're sorry for what we've done, and God willing, it shall not be repeated. More than that, we cannot do. We have no right to go forward. So that would be the appropriate response if I can do it. If I lack the power, which in fact I have lacked the power to do it, and I went ahead and told them who and where, and I ruined 2 perfectly good relationships.
Yeah.
Never made it right with any of them. They didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So the next few sentences are for people like me, though there may be justifiable exceptions. I can come up with a justifiable exception for pretty much anything I'm fixing to do. And I may find that that does not help my spiritual path. The other book says, oh, what a wretch I am. I do the things I hate and I don't do the things I want to do. So it's a common human frailty. It's not just an addict thing. And we're going to have to do something about it, and we're going to have to put it in God's hands if we really want to be done with it. So, and you do whatever you do, you, boo. Whatever. We're going to work through it. All right, so there may be justifiable exceptions, though we wish to lay down no rule of any sort. We've often found this the best course to take. Yes? Dispassionate. This is what I had to do. I once thought and felt as you do, but I doubt I'd made much progress had I not taken action. This is the action I took. This is what I experienced as a result. That was taken from me. Okay, our design for living is not a one-way street. It's good for the wife, it's for the husband. If we can forget, so can she.
Don't say that out loud.
Yeah, that's okay to think, not okay to say. But if you ever do say that to him or her, please come tell it at the podium. Because I want to hear all about that, including all the bruises. Yeah, they'll still be wearing it, right? Probably going to be doing time for it. It's better, however, that one does not needlessly name a person upon whom she can vent jealousy. Perhaps there are some cases where the utmost frankness is demanded. This is where you really got to get centered in the spirit. If you're serious about your recovery, you're going to get centered seriously on these questions, because these are human things that really mess us up and really mess up the people that care about us. No outsider can appraise such an intimate situation. So they're getting pretty, need to get real, right? So it may be that both will decide that the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. So many people work that out that way when we've gotten honest, yes? Each person might pray about it, having the other one's happiness uppermost in mind. Keep it always in sight that we're dealing with that most terrible human emotion, jealousy. Good generalship may decide that the problem be attacked on the flank rather than to risk face-to-face combat. In other words, let them have their own discovery of my change, and let me pray for the ability to show patience, tolerance, kindness, and love in my actions and my words, and see if we can walk through it and both have a new discovery of one another. Does it make sense? So if we have no such complication, there is plenty we should do at home. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say the only thing he needs to do is keep sober. Have you guys ever heard that?
Yeah.
That's a mantra in our fellowships. Guys, we've known it for a long time. If the only thing I needed to do was keep sober, why couldn't I keep sober?
Right.
I got sober lots of times. Guess what? Couldn't stay that way. You know why? Because that ain't the only thing I need to do. A guy who behaves like I behaved, that guy who died and now has been reborn into this guy, can't live in a human body unanesthetized. That's just true for me. And if you've been trying, you may be more like me than you want to be. I hear people say they don't have to do it, just don't pick up no matter what. Yeah, well, I pick the fuck up no matter what. I will trip over you and cut your throat to pick up. So I need to be arrested.
Yes.
I mean, snatched up and put down. And maybe if you think you might be anything like me, you might want to meet my jailer.
Yes.
Because he's a lot nicer than the ones I met before that. So, certainly he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. But he's yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents, whom for years he's so shockingly treated. Passing all understanding is the patience mothers and wives have had with alcoholics. Think about that.
Yeah.
How many times have people forgiven us, taken us back, patched us up, given us money, whatever, passing all understanding? Had this not been so, many of us would have no homes today, would perhaps be dead. So this is a good time to take that, feel that at its core. We always had friends that did that for us, yeah? The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough.
Right.
We're not trying to shame him. We're just trying to say, look, have you tried this before? How many times? Then why didn't you stop and stay stopped? If that's all you needed to do, then why can't you do it? If you can't do the only thing you need to do, we should get you power. Yes? And the thing I think we confuse the new guy with, you new guys out there that understand hearing people, well, I just got power, I don't pick up no matter what. We don't get power to not do. It takes no power to not do. We get power to do, to live purposeful lives, to be intentional, to build things that last beyond our lifetime. That's what we get to do because we've been specially prepared through the hell of addiction and the power of redemption. Okay, so he's like the farmer who came out of the cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" They do that so to look at how silly it really sounds.
Right.
And we've all done it. New in recovery. I know there's a whole bunch of stuff to do, but I got to get to my meeting. It's important. Oh yeah, well, the rent's not paid, and you're supposed to go to work. And
Yeah.
well, I mean, a lot of it just happens, and it's just frail thinking, right? Because just being sober ain't getting nothing done. Just finishing a prison sentence, that ain't getting nothing done.
Right.
The only thing you've ever completed is a prison sentence. You ain't completed nothing.
Right.
Sorry, we're not trying to be disrespectful. We love everybody. But what we're saying is just because you started 10 paces back because you wanted to start there or were caught up in it doesn't mean now you get to go 10 paces forward. You got to crawl up there like everybody else.
Yes. Yeah.
And you see people successful that have your background, bet that they crawled.
Yes.
Because that's the only way it happens.
Yeah.
All right, so yes, there's a long period of reconstruction ahead. Now they're telling us, right?
Yeah.
We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we're sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love. When I ask to be shown, He shows it through me. That's a powerful prayer. If no one's ever had you do it and you've been in the manner of living for a while, add that to your morning thing. Ask your Creator to show you the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love in all things. And anytime you get disturbed during the day, ask for another hit. And see if you don't, because it changes my psyche. I now start looking for patience, tolerance, kindness, and love instead of selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear, which I'm hardwired to find. Does that make sense? Well, I need an entire psychic change. I gotta participate in the rewiring. So the spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. It's a manner of living, guys. So that's what we got to help people. We got to not only tell them about what the manner of living is, but we got to model it for them. Yes? So the spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. Unless one's family expresses the desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. Here's a promise for you. They will change in time. A lot of times we just want them to know we're doing good, and they're so skeptical, and they really don't want to hear about how good we think we're doing. And we all make that mistake no matter what we're coming back from. Claim the promise, they will change in time, and get your focus on who you're going to be. Not who they need to be, not who anyone else needs to be, who you're going to be, and then be that guy. Get yourself around a bunch of people that are like who you want to be, not who you are now. See if you don't grow. Atmospherics matter.
Yes.
All right, so they will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness can make a skeptic out of anyone. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter, and there may be valid reasons for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. All they're saying is, yes, we got to go got to go own the stuff, but we don't have to hang our heads. I did that. You didn't deserve that. What can I do to make it right? It's a simple deliver in the mail. Yeah? Okay. And then it's going to get into the promises of the 9th step. If we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through. So lean into it. If you're not amazed, keep going forward. Yeah? And I say that because some people don't have the powerful flow of the Spirit till they're taking someone else through the steps. When the old timers said keep coming back, they didn't mean to meetings. They said keep coming back to service. Keep coming back to lifting people up. Keep coming back to our table where we pray and meditate on how to help the man who's still sick. And it will change in you. It will change who you are, right? Because the whole point of the manner of living is so that you know, not think, not believe, know who you are and whose you are. And when you have those two pieces of knowledge, there's nothing that can defeat you, because who you are and whose you are can do anything but fail. Does that make sense? So we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. See how they're talking about states of being? Comprehend and know. I'll be at peace in a storm. Make sense? So no matter how far down the scale we've gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. What experience? My awakening, my transformation, that experience. I'm not going to impress you a bit about the way I drank and used drugs and was promiscuous. None of that's going to be the least bit impressive to you, because y'all probably did it and some of you probably did more of it. But I will tell you this, I know enough to know how bad it gets, and I've been delivered from it, and I can tell you who did it, and I'll tell you how to recognize his signature. You know what I mean? All right, so that feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. As long as I'll focus on how I can help the other, self-seeking will slip away. I'm reprogramming my mind as I go through this. So our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. Fear of economic insecurity will leave you. You will probably go through some economic insecurity in order to let go of that fear. And we often don't tell people that. Well, people think that, I'm getting the promises, I got a car. Well, wait till you lose that son of a bitch, then you'll get the promise. Stone cold sober, homeless, and no car. See how it goes for you, big. But that fear of economic insecurity left, because guess who met my needs? So we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We'll suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And I'm not going to get into the promises because they'll end of that, because I want to get into that next week. But I will give you an example of that last one. Suddenly realize that God is doing for us. I was in a detox, it turns out, for the last time, and I had been to many. And this old boy came in there, and he delivered a message of depth and weight, and then he met me when I got out of there, and he took me through my steps in a day, and I started out, I've never been the same. I've never been the same since I met this dude. Right. And I had a long struggle after that in economic insecurity and lots of other things. But fact of the matter is, I never thought about it much until I was talking to him one day, and I said, hey, dude, you ever go back to that detox where you met me and get some more people? He goes, no, man. He said, I don't even know who that dude was that asked me. He said, I never seen him again. I've never been back. He says, haven't you figured it out yet, Joe? I go, figure it out what? He says, God sent me there for you, Joe. He sent me there for you. I had been through dozens of treatments, people. There's no doubt in my mind that that man, that was the one man who could reach me, and he was sent there for me. And that's when I knew that God is doing for us what I could not do. There you go. Thank you very much.